Well, you folks beat me to the punch. I was going to ask you to join me in thanking them with applause. So thank you for doing my job for me. I am going to now switch to that question and answer period I had promised you at the very beginning. I have a wireless microphone so that we can all be heard. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to ask the first question of our panelists here? And please don't be shy, because you have a lot of free advice that's up here. So anybody that has a question for any of our panelists? Okay, great.
Are the guides about who voted in the last election at the city office for city offices and the county offices for county, or are they either place? You want to go get the list of voters?
I have all that information at our office, Bill. Okay.
So the city information
and I
would be
can
about
go back many years to see what turnouts were and percentages, and you can, and that way you can help ID your voters.
And you have the list of new voters too, because as Kirk said, I think that's going to be a really big block this year, and a lot of reasons.
In fact, you know, Placer County's high watermark, we had an 84% turnout for president a couple elections back, and I expect that we'll see an 80% turnout for this November election. And
except for Jim, who wasn't born, did crawl off from under a rock, you guys really did a great job. I really appreciate you taking your time to do this, including Jim. It's really a worthwhile forum, and thank you for putting it on.
Just if the filings for expenses is done within the city, at the city clerk level, unless it's another office, and then you go to the county for that.
Yes, I had a question for, I believe it was Mr. Holmes. You had mentioned something about Chamber of Commerce endorsements, that it's your understanding they will be saying qualified or unqualified. Was that just for Auburn, or is that a universal Chamber of Commerce?
No, that's just for Auburn. That the Chamber had a few years ago, they started specifically endorsing individuals, and only the number of individuals for the open seats, or the seats that were up for election or re-election. And I guess they got some heat from members of the chamber, and so my understanding is they've changed it now to just whether you're qualified or not qualified.
And so literally that's how it shows, the word qualified or unqualified?
I'm on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, and I was part of this decision-making process when I was one of the vocal detractors saying that we should not be endorsing candidates in local elections because I didn't think it did any good for the community. But I was one member and quite a few large who thought we should. And it was a compromise. It's not going to be a qualified or unqualified. It's going to be friendly to business versus unfriendly to business. Not necessarily unfriendly, but it's going to be rated on a scale. And I personally still don't think that's a good idea, but that's the ultimate decision that came out of that.
If I may just ask one further question. So is it the consensus of the panel that a Chamber of Commerce should take a more objective viewpoint rather than coming out with paragraphs about who they support and why?
I don't know that our opinions as to what chambers should do really matters. What matters is you as the candidate need to find out from your local chambers how they treat your election.
Okay, thank you.
Question for Mr. Ruffalo. You mentioned that you achieved your goal in changing the stop sign by doing what? What did you join?
Well, I was got myself on the Traffic Commission of Nevada County.
You went on the Traffic Commission?
Exactly. That was the better vehicle to get this job accomplished. And plus the fact that I know of no one that would vote for me for any office, so it was the sole vehicle for me on that. But what I was trying to say was, make sure that you're in this for the right reason. If you have something you want to accomplish, is there an easier way to get it done? Because you'd be surprised at the amount of work that the job you're going after entails, not just getting elected, but once you are elected. It's a ton of work.
So the Traffic Commission position was not an elected position?
No, it was appointed.
It was appointed.
Yeah, by the Board of Supervisors in Nevada County in a very weak moment.
Mr. McCauley, what specifically do we ask for when we come for these records of voting patterns and fundraising?
We're going to go into great detail about that in the second part of the program, but basically, there's a whole slew of information that we can provide to you. The number of voters that live within your district,
So you'll
breakdown
give
by
us the
precinct.
terminology we need when we come to your office?
Yeah,
to
we're
make it
going to
clear?
go over
Okay.
some of that jargon during the second part.
Thank you.
I think you'll be well satisfied.
Any other questions from anybody? Yes.
Well, Don, the Sentinel doesn't endorse candidates, is that correct?
At the time, currently, the Sentinel does not endorse candidates.
Between now and November, is that going to change?
Depends on how much wine you buy.
It could change. It
Well, are you
could
going to be
change.
interviewing candidates at all, or is that like the
We-
Journal does, or?
No, not currently, no.
Okay.
Because we do not endorse candidates, but columnists within the Sentinel can personally endorse candidates, and we have done that in the past.
Oh, okay.
I guess it's a question for anybody up there. Some of us might be in a position where we're running for a board that sort of has been in decline, let's put it that way. It's been a lot of negative energy and press. Do you have any advice on differences in campaigns, on boards that have sort of had a few years of taking some hits versus boards that have done their job well?
I think that's where you use the compare and contrast. I mean, again, you don't just go negative. Don't just say those guys are a bunch of bums, let's throw them out. Just compare and contrast. This is what I've seen that's caused me concern. These three things caused me concern. This is why I'm running. Here's how I'm going to change it.
The thing you want to be careful of, especially if it's like the college board, what you want to be very, very careful of is two things to remember. The first being the people that came in for a reason and have supporters, and those supporters still vote. You do not want to alienate them out of hand. The second thing to remember is that if you just come up there and say, these guys are a bunch of idiots, they did this, this, and this, not going to play well. What you want to do is say, I'm running for the board because here's what I can do, here's what needs to be done, do it in a positive way, you'll pick off some of the opposition, and you'll entice more people into your fold. Especially, as I tell you, the farther down, the further down the ballot you are. Both work, don't they?
Yeah, further,
They both
farther,
work,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Further, it sounds like a Marx Brothers movie,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
right.
Yes. The lower down you are on the ballot, it's, you got to be really, really careful there, because one tick off and you're gone. They'll remember that. They won't remember your name when you do the good things, but just, all you got to do is tick off one person, they'll spread the word. The lower down the ballot you get, the fewer votes there are, people will vote. They'll leave that blank more than they'll leave the stuff up higher. So you got to be really careful, because the amount of votes diminishes as you get down the ballot.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody that I missed? Okay, well, I think our speakers, why don't I come back over here? I think our speakers are going to stick around at least for a couple of minutes. So why don't we break for refreshments? But first, before we do that, please join me in giving a hand to all our speakers. One final time. Please join us out in the lobby for some refreshments. 10 minutes, and then we'll be back in here, okay, folks?